Smithsonian World's exploration of our unique human experience is made possible by the communications company with the products and services that help us share that experience. Southwestern Bell Corporation. This program is also made possible by the financial support of viewers like you.
"5,000 years ago, nomadic tribes began to settle. The ownership of land became a prize. He who had property had power. "200 years ago, machinery ushered in the industrial age. Power went to those who controlled the capital. In today's world, the rules are still being written, but one is already clear. Power goes to those who can use and command information. Soundbite and megabyte, uplink and data link, VCR, modem, hard disk and video disk. We know we are in a new era, but how is it changing us and our society, this information age?
There are tremendous things out in the online community. You can look up stuff in encyclopedias, maps, weather reports, news reports. It's just this whole electronic world out there that is mostly, for my part, unexplored.
I carry my job home on one of these meters. When I'm walking on the street, I can source any currency rate of the four major currencies, being sterling, Deutschmark, yen, or Swiss franc.
A year ago, I would have been sitting in front of a television right now, watching the soap operas. Now I come to work every day, Monday through Friday. It's made a tremendous difference in my life.
I think of the kinds of culture and civilization that we have as a culture that values control a great deal. Control over the environment, the material, in every respect. That's the hallmark of our civilization, different from all others in the past. And the computer enhances that control.
Childhood was once considered a time of innocence and isolation, but television now takes our kids across the globe before we as parents give them permission to cross the street.
Welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Bobby Batista in Atlanta. Defense Secretary Dick Cheney leaves for Saudi Arabia later today. to meet with troops guarding against a possible Iraqi attack. U.S. warships in the region stand ready to
But she wants...
The electronic wonderland of the cable news network could stand as a symbol for the age, a veritable information factory.
Iraq detainees, Kimberly Safford.
Though a TV news broadcast would fill a meager 2 or 3 columns of a newspaper, television is where we now turn for our news. For many of us, what is not on TV may as well not have happened.
We have a staff of 1,800 men and women spread around the world in about 35 bureaus, plus 700 of us here in Atlanta. We broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're now seen in all countries of the world except the North and South Pole, and there's a spot, I'm told, in Western Siberia that doesn't get CNN, and we're, of course, looking into that straight away.
I'm on 93A.
Diplomats and heads of state, politicians, have used the availability of CNN as a diplomatic vehicle, for example, to communicate with each other. I find it amusing that when our reporters go to the White House or to the State Department, and they will seek the opinions of the leaders in there who are shaping policy, and find out that they're watching CNN to get their information, and we're getting it from them. We're watching CNN, so I have this dog chasing the tail, chasing the dog, chasing the tail, and wondering where it all goes to.
The peace initiative is largely seen as Baghdad's way of removing Iran from the military equation. If fighting breaks out between
technology
Iraq
is making
and
the world
US-led
smaller,
troops in Saudi Arabia.
so that in a sense, we're fighting in each other's backyards. That some tribal rivalry in the Middle East draws us in and affects our lives because of communications and because of the smallness of the globe. What technology does, in effect, it doesn't reduce those tribal tensions and rivalries, but it makes them more dangerous because it implicates us all in the quarrels of people all over the globe.
When a lone young man challenged tyranny in Tiananmen Square, millions around the world together held their breath. In the information age, even dictators can no longer control what their people know. The Berlin Wall could not keep out ideas. Its fall signaled the collapse of Soviet communist hegemony.
There were many factors at play as people sought to be free, many, many. And one of those in the convergence of events had to be what was seen on television of all kinds as those signals came across over the Iron Curtain and displayed to the people living back there what really awful lives they had. They knew they weren't free, but they didn't know how well the people on the other side of the curtain then lived. And television showed them. It entertained them. It showed them the wealth of the West. It showed them the greed of the West. It showed them how really dreadful their system then was.
The real impact of television doesn't simply lie in imitation and persuasion. I think the real impact of television is that it has changed who knows what about whom and who knows what compared with whom. For example, a discussion show about what to tell or not tell children, which is just like an advice book for parents. Well, what could be revolutionary about that? Well, the difference is that when you have that same discussion on television, you have thousands of children watching and listening, learning about all the secrets that are being suggested they be shielded from. And also learning the biggest secret of all, which is the secret of secrecy. That adults conspire over what to tell and not tell children, that adults are anxious over what to do with the kids.
We have main engine start, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Television doesn't allow you to flip ahead to see what's coming up. So that when I was sitting watching the Challenger take off with my daughter, who was not quite 3, I thought I was giving her a very early lesson in science and in the wonders of space technology, and instead I ended up giving her an unintended lesson in adult tragedy and adult hubris. She had seen adults who seemed so competent and in control fail. And I think my daughter lost a little bit of that faith in adult authority there, in the sense that if adults sound calm and as if they know what's going on, that everything will be okay. And she saw that that was not the case, that something could go very wrong. And I think she lost a sense of her protected place in the culture.
Television bills itself as a vehicle for entertainment and education. But as a business, its function is to sell us products, ideas,
because in America,
candidates.
Is equal before the law. We must never allow the end to justify the means where the law is concerned, however important and noble and objective.
Political campaigns have replaced the whistle-stop train with tactics suited to our age. We say we want issue-based messages, but politicians were quick to discover what kinds of ads win the votes.
Bob Graham cares about children, and somehow the children always know. He's met every true test of leadership on integrity, courage, compassion.
We react to people on television as if we've met them or are experiencing them from a few feet away, and so we respond to them in a more emotional realm. So television, I think, encourages us to choose political leaders somewhat the way people choose a bowling partner. That is, somebody whom we don't necessarily agree with on all the issues, but someone we don't mind spending a lot of time with over the next few years.
Every technology always has the potential to be used in benign ways or not so benign ways. And I think in our political life, it's been used in not so benign ways for purposes of manipulation.
The challenge of any campaign is to sway the voters. Campaign managers are sophisticated students of modern technology.
We do everything from standard basic PC computing like word processing or spreadsheet things in accounting to electronic mail and networking. We use the computer to track all of our contributors. We also have databases, obviously, with the senator's records, so we know how he's voted on a wide variety of issues. Sometimes an issue comes to the fore unexpectedly, and in order to respond to that, we have to have at our fingertips the sum of his record with regard to that particular issue, particularly votes, but not limited to votes. Floor statements, public statements, press statements, things like that. The computer helps us keep track of all of those things. If we were running against a congressperson, a member of Congress, of course we'd want to have one of these databases on our opponent.
One year, Strinden actually missed 32% of the votes. That's right, he missed 1/3 of the votes. Earl Strinden missed votes to help fight child abuse and neglect. He missed votes to help struggling farmers stay on the land. He even missed votes to help protect our seniors in nursing homes.
Where does John Evans really stand? On June 15th, John Evans assured campaign contributors in Hartford, Connecticut, quote, "I am very much opposed to prayer in the schools."
Armed with those computerized records on the opponent, the temptation becomes irresistible to trumpet his every real or seeming inconsistency.
John Evans can't have it both ways. Where does John Evans stand?
And I believe that politically, the information age technology is being used to undermine our democracy rather than to enhance it. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Americans are increasingly sour on politicians, increasingly leery about voting, feeling that their vote doesn't count that much. It's sort of a mockery. So you have, I think, a rather dangerous situation.
For children, video becomes a gateway to another world. Addicting, parent-troubling, yet a world of challenge and discovery.
Children walk up to a video game, they don't look at the rule book, they don't look at the instructions, they play. Of course, they're learning manual dexterity and extraordinary hand-eye coordination. But beyond that, they're learning something else as well. They're becoming socialized into the computer culture.
In the classroom, few of technology's promises have been kept. Nationally, we have spent billions of dollars putting millions of computers into schools. So why are we not seeing dramatic improvements?
And show me the halves now. I think in many instances in education, there are examples of marvelous uses of technology. In other instances, we have done with technology what I think we always do with innovation, and that is mold the innovation to fit what we're most comfortable with and what we currently know. Instead of students using ditto sheets or workbooks or flashcards, that has been substituted with a microcomputer screen and a keyboard for youngsters to press one number for yes or no.
Part of our failure lies in not adequately training the teachers, many of whom are still intimidated by the technology.
In my view, at least, the teacher is key. That human interactor is key. And a good teacher will use technology in a very productive way. And I would like to see them use the most free-form kinds of software available. Software that doesn't have a built-in content, but one where you as the educator decide what the content should be. In this way, you'll be able to not only take advantage of what is of interest to your youngsters, you'll also be able to bring their culture in it. You'll be able to make it relevant to them as well as interesting.
The new technology has the potential to motivate our children unlike any other before. Yet, like youngsters of any era, they take the wonders of their time for granted. One of the earliest symbols of the information age, the stock ticker, derived from the telegraph machine that started it all. In a century and a half, we have sped from dots and dashes to messages relayed by satellites thousands of miles away. It is all displayed here in a gallery of the National Museum of American History. Appropriately, the Smithsonian Institution's most ambitious exhibit ever. Visitors follow the succession of inventions for transmitting information and a separate progression of devices for processing information, or computing. It was in World War II, with a machine for code breaking, that these two technological streams, transmission and processing, began to merge. The necessities of war also led to ENIAC, a programmable electronic computer designed to calculate artillery ballistic tables. It was a daunting task to keep ENIAC's 18,000 vacuum tubes working. We would later look at those war years as the birth of the information age. Today's desktop computers have thousands of times the processing power of ENIAC, and they are everywhere. even in a factory making a product we were once told the computer would do away with: paper. There are still workers who toil like their forefathers, but the information age is an unstoppable tide of change. What for some may be a smooth transition, for others can become an upheaval. The computer can induce a feeling of intimidation, threat, or even phobia.
In the past, Charlie was in charge of one piece of equipment. When it didn't work right, he knew exactly where to go out and kick it. Now, he's in a control room, he's monitoring computerized information, and in those areas of the workplace which we've always thought of as manual work. And now those manual work activities are becoming mental work. If you're looking at a piece of equipment, you know what it means, because the equipment stands for itself. You don't have to figure out what it means. If you're looking at some graphics or some numbers that describe what this piece of equipment is doing, suddenly you have to ask yourself, what do these numbers tell me? What do these graphics tell me? What does this mean?
Probably 300 or 400 different variables that we watch. And this computer essentially brings all of those pieces of equipment right into one place. The workload is probably the same, but in this environment you can think more clearly. And it also makes it so that we can watch our process more closely and refine how it runs. When you have a tighter running process, you make better quality. It doesn't reduce the workforce. It's made the workforce more effective.
Technology can easily provide all employees with the information once reserved for management, allowing even production workers to contribute to decision-making. Whether management will permit that to happen remains an open question. Elsewhere, unusually difficult production requirements at the Martin Marietta Company led to creating what may be a prototype of the information age factory. A defense contract for aircraft navigation and bombing systems required the company to meet a tough schedule, yet be able to incorporate frequent design changes. The answer? A paperless factory.
We wanted to computerize the operations here in production in order to ensure that we build a quality product the first time. Today, the work instructions that Nancy would be getting, she would clock onto a job, clocking a barcode operation, and the work instructions would appear on the workstation for her. It's the same sketch that the engineers would have utilized in the design of this product. We've taken that sketch and have brought it down to the factory floor.
Well, all the information I need is at the touch of my fingertips by touching the screen. If I need assistance of any kind, you clock a variance. You go to your manufacturing step, and if I need my supervisor, I'd press my supervisor. If I need a special tool, we'll have to wait for it to come up. If I need a special tool, I clock my tooling delay. Facilities, anything that I need is at the touch of my, if I need on-the-job training, I have someone who will come over and answer the question that I need on here by clocking this. It notifies that I need help.
But what about the early predictions that the new technology would turn workers into robots, slaves to the computer?
I like it. The tube will let you clock on to whatever station you're certified to work on. And you'll do different jobs. Whatever's called for today is what you do today. It's a wide variety of different things every day you get to work on.
With the paper system, you usually had to do quite a bit of research and hand to wander off to other areas. Here, you can just bring it all up, and it's just able for you to access it right at the station.
Today, we have information that comes into the front line that can be dealt with in the front line. So what does that mean for the manager's role? Now they have to move from being policemen, being controllers, being supervisors in the true sense of the word, to being educators, because they are the people who have to develop the skills, the intellectual skills now in the front line to be able to deal with this new world of information.
learning and training are no longer niceties. What it means to work, to do the task, and what it means to learn are becoming the same thing. So it literally is true to say that learning is the new form of labor.
What we have is a highly advanced technology that's creating all kinds of opportunities for interesting, demanding jobs, and an educational institution that is failing to train and retrain the workforce for those jobs. So we're going to face that tragic situation of people at the lower ends of the income scale desperately needing jobs, but not capable of performing them because they lack the basic skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. So that's one of the skill gaps that is a scandal. And more than a scandal, it is a source of acute suffering today and will be a source of even more acute suffering in the future.
Today, for most of us, this is our workplace. Half a century ago, more than 80% of Americans were laboring in factories or on farms. But now, nearly 2 out of 3 of us work in an office. A 100 years ago, she might have been toiling in a sweatshop. 20 years ago, her tools would have been typewriter and steno pad. The vow that the computer would improve the nature of the work experience is, for some, a promise not yet kept. Yet virtually every office skill is being transformed by the new tools. Writing, accounting, planning, designing, forecasting, communicating, researching. But are companies that have embraced the information age really gaining the benefits they anticipated?
What people are finding in these organizations is that while they're automating, they also have very lofty competitive expectations for their technology. They see information technology as something that will help them compete. And what they're discovering is that as they automate, somehow these competitive objectives, these competitive payoffs aren't there. The same technology that they have bought to automate is generating a wealth of information, but they have no personnel available to understand that information and what it could do for their business. So organizational innovation, I think, becomes really the key to the next decade. Can we break out of our 19th century conceptions of what is work, of what is management, and what is organization? If it's those conceptions right now that are limiting us, we are still operating in a paradigm that comes from another century.
Access to information is going to be governed by who has the money to buy it. Walter Wriston, who's the ex-chairman of Citicorp, said in a farewell speech that, he said this, I think, about good 10 years ago, that information about money is as valuable as money itself.
48.53.
Anybody else?
4:30 paid.
At 50, you get $100,000. $3,000. I need $100,000 in Sweden. 35. Take them. Take them.
Hey, David.
Yes. Take them.
You got a level in 3-month Gilder?
In Manhattan skyscrapers, international trading operations, like this one at Citibank, make the markets that set the value of world currencies.
62.7.
No, we got the 10 at 63, though.
Transactions here affect us all. When a bank in Iowa makes a loan for a new tractor, the money may in fact come from Frankfurt, Basel, or Tokyo. Electronic funds transfers have created a global monetary market that greases the world's economy and makes the farmer's loan cheaper.
I trade the dollar yen, which is the dollar versus the yen. Basically, most of your currencies, until recently, 1990 really, all the currencies have been traded versus the dollar. Dollar yen, dollar mark, dollar sterling. Now, 47,375. Yes. And since 1990, the hot item, so to say, to trade has been crosses, which are the mark versus the peseta, the Spanish peseta, the mark lira. Yes, excuse me.
What's your bid on half a yard of yen?
43. I'm out. 50 offer. 375. I sell at 47.
Barry, still at 43?
Just 5. 5 I sell at 50 last year. Yes.
Okay, 43, you sell half a yard.
Half a yard I sell at 43, Andy. So what you saw transpired was somebody paid me for a half a yard, or market jargon, $500 million yen. They paid me, they took the yen and gave me dollars at a rate of 43. I turned around and sold them at 50. Net, we made money.
It didn't take long to recognize that to a very large extent, the banking business is the information business. It's simply somebody on the telephone says, I will buy $10 million of yen, and this is done all electronically. You're talking about virtually hundreds of billions of dollars daily moving in an electronic form through various marketplaces of the world. And the banks are central to all of this. Our computers, our computer systems, there's a system downtown called CHIPS, which is run by the New York Clearinghouse Banks, that runs daily volumes in the area of $700 billion. And this is the movement of the world's true money supply. None of that has any physical manifestation. It's an electronic change of ownership in the records of the various financial institutions of the world that are webbed together. And those webs touch all of the major money markets of the world.
63.8. I'm sorry. 6671.
Clearly, the world has been reduced to the size of a postage stamp. We know what's happening every place instantly. So when we had the invasion of Kuwait, immediately you had a blockage which created problems in London, New York, Tokyo.
265,000 troops in or near the Kuwaiti border with Saudi Arabia. Now, that's unconfirmed. I haven't read yet the story myself. But because of that, the effect is that we've just moved 25 points in the dollar on the upside. Dollar yen went from, when we first started talking, a rate of 143.43, where I bought those dollars, is now 143.70 paid last, which means we could have made a lot of money if we held those dollars, but we didn't, but we made money nevertheless. But what we just saw is the volatility of this market and how susceptible we are to the technology and to information.
In the 60s, Marshall McLuhan talked about the mass media creating the global village, and television creating a global village, but that really didn't happen. What is coming to pass is that it's the electronic media that's creating a global village.
Citibank. For balance, available credit, or payment information, please press 1 now. Please enter your account number now. Your balance is $854.01. For representative, press 1 now.
This is Chuck. May I help you?
South Dakota.
Okay, what's your account number?
571. Okay, well, we did not get the payment, so you need to go to that bank and find out what happened to that money. Find out if it
Your name, please?
One of the common complaints in this highly computerized world grows out of the frustration of dealing with machines,
Okay, ma'am, at this time, since we did receive the payment, you have $100
or with people only authorized to do what a machine tells them.
Okay, I'm not showing that information.
And yet few of us are willing to forego the plastic card with its cashless pay-later convenience.
No, I'm not showing that either. You're welcome. Goodbye.
The ease of plastic credit has led us to multiply our personal debt burden, bringing many to the brink of ruin.
Really, the credit card business was made possible by the advent of the computer. It would be impossible for human beings to process the amount of transactions that we do in one day. We will process between 2.5 to 3 million transactions in a day. About $175 to $200 million.
And all who own a credit card create an electronic history of how they live their lives.
The data banks in this country have more information in them about the citizens of this country than is probably the case of even the most totalitarian state on the planet. What we do with that data is, of course, the issue, not the fact that we're recording it, but whether we safeguard it, whether we keep it confidential and private. When I think of privacy, I'm not thinking solely of Greta Garbo and Howard Hughes, I want to be alone. Privacy to me is autonomy, is a sense of self, is the ability to control one's own destiny. And in this information-oriented society, you cannot control your own destiny unless you control the information circulating around you. Other people are making decisions about us not on the basis of face-to-face dynamics, not between us talking, not by evaluating this miserable collection of blood, sweat, and tears, but by looking at electronic blips in a computer file and hoping that it's the real Arthur Miller they're looking at, not the playwright, not the psychiatrist. Our fortunes in life depend to a significant degree now because credit is so important, because insurance is so important, because government benefits are vital to so many people. Our ability to gain access to these things depend on what's in the file, depends on the competence of the programmer, the intelligence of the data user, the civility of the so-called parameters of decision-making. Curiously, you and I are just alter egos of the file. We don't exist. You know that. To me, one of the great protectors of privacy is the computer hacker. Every time a computer hacker gets into a supposedly secure system, the ripple effect in the computer industry and in the corporate world is stunning.
A new age word that can be compliment or accusation, hacker, is an apt description for Matt Howitt. At only 15, he is one of the good guys who knows enough to be the other kind.
There are two types of hackers. There's the hacker who is malicious in his attempt to use and break into computers. And then there's the hacker in the sense of someone who does a lot of good, spends a lot of time, this is a stereotype, drinking Pepsi and caffeine and programming his computer to help the world. Some companies actually pay people to try and break into their computers so that they can make sure it's really safe for the hacker. That's how safe from the malicious type of hacker. And that's how some malicious type of hackers actually rise into business. I mean, we're the hacker consulting firm. I mean.
To creative talents in every field of the arts, the computer opens a world of intriguing new possibilities waiting to be explored.
Finché la
information technology is revolutionizing the fields of design and publishing. Graphic artists like April Greiman need to be comfortable not just at the drafting table, but also at the console of a powerful design computer.
One thing that's, for me, really stands out about using these tools is that they represent a new process. And I just found I was very curious to explore kind of new textures and new technologies. And I like very much the idea of working collectively and collaboration. I find that it's an incredibly intuitive process, very spontaneous, and there's an enormous amount of playfulness and surprise and even accidents that come out of this that are not hard and cool at all.
You want to shift this more towards cyan and get it away from this blue, the darker blue?
For many of tomorrow's artists and composers, the computer is likely to become as indispensable a tool as the word processor has already become for most writers.
You're watching Lifetime.
Visual artists are also putting the information age technology to work in other dramatic ways. The picture of Dorian Gray becomes reality with a computer program that aids in the search for missing children.
She's now age 7.
Combining an old photo of this child, lost for 4 years, with a childhood photo of her mother, helped in the girl's recovery. In the science lab, the computer is changing long-held notions about exploration and discovery. Scientists every day turn up remarkable new ways to use tools and techniques that didn't even exist until recently. The Genome Project, being pursued by hundreds of scientists across the country, is big-ticket research. A 15-year, multi-billion-dollar project with a monumentally ambitious goal: to unravel the human genetic code.
The Genome Mapping Project is one which proposes to take the genetic information of humans and translate it into a four-letter language, the four-letter language of DNA. And of course, the information contained in the Human Genome Project is enormous, 3 billion letters in this language. And one has to obviously put this information in a computer and develop tools for scanning the information that is intrinsic to 4 billion years worth of evolution that's created us as organisms. The project would be impossible without the aid of computers. And computers are used at many different levels. They're used at taking the information from machines that do the mapping and sequencing and making it coherent and comprehensible. And then once you've accumulated the data, they're used for analyzing the data. And then ultimately, they're going to be used for making all of that data accessible to the entire world of biology.
In earlier times, one man could master the known science of his day. At the National Library of Medicine alone, computers index 400,000 scientific articles annually, making abstracts instantly available to any researcher in the world with access to a PC and a telephone. Today, scientists group into narrower and narrower subspecialties and still swim upstream against a roaring current of accumulating knowledge. In the United States alone, 10,000 books, 30,000 technical journals, 65,000 patents, plus countless tens of thousands more documents now published only as computer files. Information overload has become the new occupational hazard of the information society, creating stress that mounts with every data burst. It's a blessing, then, that the new technology enhances the practice of medicine. Yet each advance contributes to the skyrocketing costs. One arena of technology promises large gains at a small price: software. Physicians are among the early beneficiaries of expert system software. Dr. Mike Hendrickson explains the use of one such system, IntelliPath.
A pathologist out in the field is responsible for making diagnoses in a large number of areas. It's very difficult to keep track of all the diseases and subspecialties that range from gynecology to pediatrics and so forth. And what this system does is make available expert knowledge in each of those areas. The system basically embodies that expert pathologist's reasoning processes, the expert's thoughts on the differential diagnosis of diseases he's considering.
Once basic information about the patient has been entered, the program guides the pathologist through a series of logical steps, presenting video images for comparison with the specimen. Ultimately, the system generates a list of the most likely diagnoses, each with a percentage representing probability.
The computer programs, artificial intelligence programs in the form of expert systems, are already duplicating human performance in a wide variety of common tasks in the world that require professional expertise, ranging from financial industry tasks to engineering design tasks, manufacturing control tasks, particularly medical diagnosis, where a lot of the early history of applied artificial intelligence was done. So we are already seeing today one dimension of intelligence where computer programs are, in a sense, competitive. That is what you would call high-performance intelligence.
How does the brain think? How is it wired? How is it programmed? Can we build a computer that functions like the brain? Daniel Hillis began as a student of the mind, then set about to build a computer on that model. His connection machine has 64,000 processing units operating simultaneously, in parallel, making it capable of producing the most complex visualizations ever achieved.
A computer is a thinking machine in the same sense that an airplane is a flying machine. An airplane doesn't fly like a bird. And in fact, in many ways, an airplane flies worse than a bird. It takes a lot more room to take off and land. But in many ways, an airplane flies much better than a bird. It can fly faster, farther, without stopping. And in the same sense, the computer is a thinking machine that can think faster and farther than we can. But in many ways, it's worse than we are.
But the skeptic still demands to know if intelligence is the right word for a machine that can be taught to beat almost any chess player, but cannot match the everyday abilities of a dog in distinguishing his master from the mailman.
The tens to hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years of evolution that evolved the systems that we regard as, quote, primitive, unquote, like vision, speech, locomotion, manipulation. Those were worked on by nature for so long that, and they're hidden, they're buried in the human machinery, just as they are buried in animal machinery, that they're very difficult to understand. The more recent things, mathematics, physics, chemistry, medicine, those have existed only for either a few hundred years or at most a few thousand years. Those are very symbolic. Those exist almost at the surface of the mind, you might say. They're not buried in mechanism at all. They're not inherited. They're not evolutionary. Your eyes see because the genes taught them how to see. But you don't learn medicine that way. You don't learn chemistry that way. So it would seem that the more complex forms of knowledge and the more logical forms of reasoning are the easiest to model. You might say, in a sense, that they are, from an evolutionary point of view, the most, quote, artificial, unquote. Nature doesn't know anything about logic. It's we who constructed the system of logic. In that sense, logic itself is artificial. All of mathematics is artificial. All of our sciences are artificial. So in that sense, artificial intelligence can model those things easier than they can model speech and vision and locomotion and early language understanding.
With the idea that there can be other sentient beings around besides ourselves. And so I think that there will be a kind of dilemma there as to whether this somehow cheapens the worthwhileness of humanity to have another sentient being around. And this comes back to the issue of emotion, because I think we see inside of us something valuable in our ability to love, our ability to create. And as computers begin to do things that appear as if they're loving and creating, then we will have to make the moral decision as to whether to treat them with the moral rights of sentient beings. And so we'll have to answer the question, are they just acting like they love? Are they just acting like they create? Or are they really loving and creating? We're asking the question, do they have a soul, essentially? Is it moral to turn one off whenever you want?
The question of mind in relation to machine is, for us, what sex was to the Victorians. It's a threat and fascination, it's a taboo and an obsession. We think about our minds in relationship to the computer, in relationship to information technology. For us, this technology becomes an evocative object that constantly poses for us the question of how we are like and not like it.
I know I'm doing six. It's easy. Oh, Allosaurus. Allosaurus, I think it's...
Computers are an extraordinary technology in that they interact in very, very fundamental ways with the developmental process. They really get in there and make their presence felt. I remember a 13-year-old who said to me, when the computers are very smart and they can have a lot of the jobs, people will still run the restaurants and make the food, have the babies and love each other. I guess they'll still be the only ones who'll go to church.
You want to use technology as an instrument to make people's lives better. Everyone is trying to reach for a better tomorrow. That's what it's all about theoretically, isn't it? But the point is, we are not going to have a better tomorrow unless we are aware that we could also have a more dreadful and more onerous and more stifling tomorrow if we do not watch out and spell out up front that this is what we are not going to use technology for.
Information doesn't automatically lead to wisdom. I mean, you have instance after instance of that. During the Vietnam War, the book written about the best and the brightest, about our top-level experts who had all the information in the world and made the worst judgments imaginable. If we breed a nation of specialists and we give them all the information in the world, but we find out that we know more and more about less and less.
Computers and information technology provide the means for people to have an extraordinary access to information, more than ever could have been thought possible. I think the challenge for society, the challenge for us as people, is to learn how to manage that information, to understand what it is that we need and want to know, and also to do a better job at distinguishing between information and wisdom, information and true knowledge.
Smithsonian World's exploration of our unique human experience is made possible by the communications company with the products and services that help us share that experience. Southwestern Bell Corporation. This program is also made possible by the financial support of viewers like you. Video cassettes of this program for educational use may be purchased by writing to PBS Video. Home video sales are not available through this offer.